Hello, it's Kevin Watson here from Bayshill Unitarians in Cheltenham. And just to say, first of all, I hope that wherever you are today, you're feeling as Christmassy as the scene that is behind me. So welcome to this little Christmas Eve video. Greetings from everyone at Bayshill. We're particularly saying hello to the folks of the Beacon Church in Troy, Michigan. We made connections with that church during the pandemic, and it was really good to have a connection with the wider world in that way. So we hope you're having a great Christmas wherever you are. I hope you're having a great lead up to Christmas, which is almost upon us. It's Christmas Eve as this goes out. So I hope you've done your Christmas shopping. If you haven't, you might want to pause this and prioritize that. Although I have got an idea for a gift if you need one, and that is this, an emotional dictionary by Susie Dent. Now, this book, I heard Susie Dent speak about this, but it's all about the idea that a lot of people don't have that many words in their vocabulary to describe the way they feel. So we'll talk about being happy or sad or angry or whatever. But her idea is if we expand our vocabulary, and we will then understand our emotions better, we will understand ourselves better, which is an interesting idea, and it's a pretty entertaining book as well. So just to give you just a few words from this book that you might find interesting. If you found the run-up to Christmas quite stressful, if you're one of those people, Mark, I'm talking to Mark here, who I spoke to earlier this week about what he was doing. If you're entertaining 15 people and you're not sure that you've got enough pans, you might be feeling a little exhausted by the end of the day. But there's another word for that, which is really exhausted, and the word that's in this book is dumbfungled. If you're really, really exhausted, you are dumbfungled. So hopefully Christmas won't leave too many people feeling dumbfungled because of all the entertainment responsibilities. So another good word in the book is antisappointment. Antisappointment, which is exactly what it sounds like. So antisappointment refers to the idea that you are kind of looking forward to something, but sort of knowing that it's probably going to be disappointing, you know? Like that time maybe when you were a child and you get invited to, I don't know, a relative's house or whatever, and when you get there you realise that the only entertainment on offer is trying to get the potato masher out of the drawer that no one should have put it in the first place. If you're looking forward to something but thinking maybe it's not going to be that great, that would be antisappointment. So I'm hoping that no one's going to feel antisappointment this Christmas time. So another word in the book is strichidonia. Strichidonia. You can see, you probably get the gist of what it means by the second half of the word. Hedonia, which would be from hedonistic. So it's something to do with that. And what it actually means is to be joyfully happy when something is over. And I'm hoping that's not how you feel about this video. If it is, don't tell me. It is actually, of course, the way some people feel about Christmas. And we understand that Christmas can be a lonely, isolating time. So we think of people in that situation. But strichidonia, that idea of being joyful because something is over. And there are lots of other great words in this book. One that amused me was one called, it's a Japanese word, which goes agatori. Agatori, and that refers to the horror of realising you've just had a terrible haircut, which is something I had a few times back in the 80s when I was experimenting with flat tops and things. But sadly, in recent years, it doesn't happen so much, to be honest, because I used some wash and go shampoo and it went. Anyway, agiatori, that's another one. But the word I'm leading up to, the word that has kind of really inspired me in this book is the word actolepsy. Actolepsy. And that refers to being overwhelmed by the complexity of the universe. The sense of being overwhelmed by what we don't know, by the great kind of mystery out there, if you like. Now, I'm no scientist, but sometimes I enjoy watching TV programs about space and its vastness. And I watched one earlier this year with Tim Peake, who was saying things like the fact that 1,300 Earths would fit into the space that Jupiter takes up. I mean, that is so immense. And that elicited a wow from me. Most stars, of course, that we can see in the night sky are within 1,000 light years of where we are. But even that's amazing, isn't it? To think you're looking up at the night sky and the light you're looking at has taken 1,000 years to get to you. And to astronomers, that's just our backyard, really, our astronomical backyard. If you get a fancy telescope, you can see light from millions of years ago. So light coming to us from before the Christmas story, from before human beings, before this planet that we call home. And when I hear stories like that, it's actilepsy that I get, if you like, that experience of the unknowability of the universe, the wonder of it. I take it as a positive thing. And that's one of the reasons that I see my own spiritual position as being a Christian agnostic. And when I use that phrase, I'm not saying I haven't made up my mind. I'm saying that there is a lot of mystery in life, a lot of things that I don't understand, a lot of things I probably can't understand. So I'm living in a spirit of actilepsy, the unknowability of everything, the sense of being overwhelmed by the vastness of all that is. And to me, in many ways, that's okay. Now, I find it interesting that in the Bible stories of Christmas, the night sky plays its part. So the Magi are looking for inspiration in those stars, and those stars lead them to Jesus and an encounter that fills them with overwhelming joy. And on Christmas Eve, we want to celebrate joy, don't we? But maybe even as I'm saying that, you're thinking, well, a joyful Christmas might not be so appropriate in a year when we have seen such violence in the world, such unbelievable suffering. And we're thinking of that, aren't we? The situation in Gaza in particular, and also Ukraine. So maybe in such a year, joy might not be appropriate, we might think. Indeed, I was interested to discover that in the Methodist Church in the UK, they did something quite different this Advent season. My mother was telling me about this the other day. Now, usually, of course, Advent candles are lit each Sunday. And this year, though, Methodist churches were encouraged not to light the second one. And that second candle represents peace. And David Hardiman, Methodist liaison officer in Jerusalem, but currently in the UK, explained it this way on the Methodist Church website. I'm just going to read it to you. Our Christian colleagues in Bethlehem tell us that this Advent and Christmas, the lights that normally adorn the birthplace of Jesus will remain unlit in memory of those who've been killed in the current conflict. We are inviting Methodist churches in Britain to leave the second candle of Advent unlit to serve as a reminder that we stand in solidarity with all who are suffering in the Holy Land. Now, I know about this because my parents attended a service the other week where the second Advent candle wasn't lit, and it spoke powerfully to them. We want peace on earth and goodwill to all, but we don't have it right now. So is it even right that we should express or experience joy in such dark times? Well, I have two responses to that question. And the first is to draw your attention to the gospel reading that we're having on Christmas Eve. And that is from Matthew chapter 2. And Matthew chapter 2 begins with the story of the Magi following the star, finding Jesus, worshipping Jesus, and being transformed by joy. But then this is followed on immediately after that in the chapter by the story of King Herod responding to that with violence, the killing of the firstborn and so on, horrendous violence and terror. And so in that one chapter we see humanity's potential for warmth and joy and goodness on the one hand, and humanity's capacity for evil and violence and terror on the other. Violence and terror in the story don't kill off love and joy. Perhaps actually they make it more necessary. And it is worth pointing out that both the accounts of this story that we find in Luke's Gospel and Matthew's are very political. In Luke's Gospel, we have the Emperor Augustus proclaiming to be the supreme authority, the saviour of the people, because of his military might. And in Matthew's Gospel, As I've said, we have King Herod killing off the firstborn of Bethlehem in a rage of insecurity and what we now know was serious ill health. The moral authority of that Christmas story, though, lies, of course, not with those who threatened or committed violence, but those who brought peace and joy and love to other human beings. It's easy sometimes, isn't it, to see only the dark side of people, the dark side of humanity. But the Christmas story reminds us of the need to really look for the good in others and recognize that good and respond to it. So it's all about the joy of giving to each other, the joy of human connection, the joy of being maybe inspired by the night sky, actilepsy, the joy of compassion. These are the most powerful elements of the Christmas story. And perhaps they're also the most powerful aspects of a life well lived. In a sense, I suppose what I'm saying is choose joy. But I'm aware of that becoming a tagline that doesn't really mean much, and I'm not sure whether you really can choose joy. I'll come back to that in a minute or two. So I want to kind of move towards the end of this with a reading about joy. Perhaps if we don't think we can experience joy, we need to redefine what we mean by that word. And with that in mind, this reading is from Joy is of Many Kinds by Howard Thurman, a famous American educator, civil rights activist and philosopher. And it's from a book that he wrote in 1961 entitled The Inward Journey. It's a book of meditations on the human condition. And to me, I found this quite a meaningful description of joy.
Joy is of many kinds. Sometimes joy comes silently, opening all closed doors and making itself at home in the desolate heart. It has no forerunner save itself. It brings its own welcome and its own salutation. Sometimes joy is compounded of many elements, a touch of sadness, a whimper of pain, a harsh word tenderly held until all its arrogance dies. The casting of the eye into the face that understands, the clasp of a hand that holds, then releases, a murmur of tenderness when no word is spoken, the distilled moment of remembrance of a day or a night, an hour lived beyond the sweep of the daily round. Joy is often compounded of many things. There is earned joy, an impossible job tackled and conquered, leaving no energy for assessing the price or measuring the cost, only an all-inclusive sense of well-being in the mind, and slowly creeping through all the crevices of the spirit. Or it may be some dread has reared its head, gathering into itself all hope that is unassigned until it becomes the master of the house. Then relief comes through fresh knowledge and new insight, clearer vision. What was dread now proves groundless, and the heart takes to wings like an eagle in its flight. There is a joy that is given. There are those who have in themselves the gift of joy. It is no relation to merit or demerit. It is not a quality that has been arrested from the vicissitudes of life. Such people have not fought and won a hard battle. They have made no conquests. To them, joy is given as a precious ingredient in life. It is part of their basic, intrinsic equipment. Wherever they go, they give birth to joy in others. They are the heavenly troubadours, earthbound, who spread their music all around and who sing their song without words and without sounds. To be touched by them is to be blessed of God. They give even as they have been given. Their presence is a benediction and a grace. In them we hear the music and the score. And in their faces we sense a glory, which is the very light of heaven.
So that is Howard Thurman on joy. And at this point, I'd be tempted to say, let us choose joy. But then, of course, there is the issue, well, can you choose joy? Maybe you can't, maybe it's about openness. It's not about choosing to be something. It's about being open to the positive in other people and in ourselves. And with that in mind, I want to finish with a little poem that my cousin Ruth actually posted on Facebook a while back. And I thought, when I saw it, I thought, that'll work on Christmas Eve. That's about what Christmas is about. And it's actually called Joy Chose You. Joy does not arrive with a fanfare or a red carpet strewn with the flowers of a perfect life. Joy sneaks in as you pour a cup of coffee, watching the sun hit your favorite tree just right. And you usher joy away because you're not ready for her. Your house is not as it should be for such a distinguished guest. But joy, you see, cares nothing for your messy home or your bank balance or your waistline. Joy is supposed to slither through the cracks of your imperfect life. That's how joy works. You cannot truly invite her. You can only be ready when she appears and hug her with meaning, because in this very moment, joy chose you. And with those words in mind, I wish you a joyful Christmas. And we'll see you, hopefully, somewhere, online, in person, in 2024. Take care.